Well, welcome back, everybody. It's been a while. I know I haven't posted for a long time, but nothing changes. Music's still happening. I'm still here. I'm still alive. Uh, we're going to talk about squares and circles again today. I hope that's all right with everybody. Um, where to begin? So, once again, apologizing. I haven't posted for quite some time. If anybody tunes into my other little episode that I do, the Tinkle Tunes episode, I explain myself in that episode. So if you don't ever catch that, I will reiterate. Haven't posted for a while simply because I was spending some time at the end of the summer and just, doing things, devoting time to friends and family, devoting time to work, things like that. Life takes hold and you don't always have time to make content. um, like I've said many times before, this is something that I just do for fun. And so, yeah, gonna get back into it and start making some more episodes. And the cooler temperatures and the cold, wet season is upon us here in Oregon, and I mean everywhere else in the northern hemisphere, obviously. But good time to kind of shut yourself in and start spinning some records again and listen to some tunes. And I kind of also took a little bit of a break. I'll be totally honest with you. Um, my my gear has been suffering. Um, my my receiver blew up like a couple months ago. I mean, it didn't actually physically blow up, but it took a dump. And you know how frustrating it is for collectors and appreciators and people who are especially into like vintage gear and stuff like that. It can be really frustrating at times when you keep pouring money into these really cool pieces of stereo equipment that you really cherish and adore and love, and you do your best. I mean, I do my best to try to keep up on them and keep them clean and repair them when I can and do what I can. um, I'm just not one of those dudes that's really um, savvy when it comes to all things of the audio video nature. So I try when I get, I repaired one of I had a baby Marantz that I repaired in a couple different ways. Um, and a few other things, but I had this like sweet like pair, a receiver and radio setup of a Kenwood. I think it was like a KP 3000 or something like that, like super sick, like 1978. And it just like I paid a bunch of money for it, and it sounded great for like a month, and then it just totally just like fucking fizzled out, like again, like for the ninth time. Like I've had turntables totally take a dump on me constantly. Well, yeah, and so I had that receiver go out on me, and I was frustrated, and I was like, well, I'll just use a little ghetto one that I have, just throw that in there. And then my turntable also like stopped keeping its RPMs up, and it also was just like it was just doing weird things. The tone arm would do weird things, and I'm fucking sick of it. So I ditched a bunch of my gear, and I'm in the midst of buying like I know it's kind of like passe and kind of whatever. It's hip to buy all the cool retro stuff, but I can't afford it anymore. Like I don't have money, and it's like I can only afford to either like buy music or buy sick fucking gear. And so I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna get some like middle of the road, run of the mill, new stuff. I'm tired of like constantly battling the constant inevitable uphill battle of vintage stereo hi-fi gear. Been doing it for years, everybody, so don't make fun. I'm not a fucking hipster. I've been spinning records my entire life. I'm a Generation Xer. I was, brought into the fold like when I was a child, and I've always loved it, and I've always been an appreciator and a part of it. I'm just to that point in my life where I'm just frustrated and sick of like trying to like repair shit, and I have to keep buying stuff. And so I love all that stuff, but I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna get like a nice, $200, brand new Sony receiver, and probably get a new one of those. I've had a bunch of new turntables. I've had a what was that one? It was really good. It was a Denon Denon FP 300 or something like that. I don't know. That was one of the first like new turntables I ever bought. Really great turntable for anyone who's kind of like, it's a good introductory turntable, middle of the road. It was like $350, and it comes with an Ortofon, stylus, the Ortofon 2M Red. Great introductory cartridge for people who don't want to spend a fuck ton of money. I had that turntable for a couple years. Yeah, so anyway, blah, 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 blah. I think I'm going to get Fluence. I was looking at those Fluence turntables, and those are pretty sharp. I like things simplistic. I like curved S-shaped tone arm, so I'm going to go for something like that. And so I'm saving up my ducats so I can get some new gear. Anyway, long story short, sorry about that, everybody. That's why I've been in this weird intermediary period too, and I haven't been posting a lot of stuff to talk about, just because I've been just kind of taking a break from, the constant collecting and the constant buying and the constant blah, 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 blah. I mean, my addictive personality, like, just needed to take a break. I haven't been to the fucking record store in 3 months, like, literally. So, just taking a break. And I've actually been researching and focusing on trying to find some new stuff, some new exciting music. Of course, I do that all year round. Got to a middle point, like in the summertime, where I was just like, man, I haven't really discovered anything new this year. Besides some stuff I found out early on in the year that I have discussed on the channel and brought up some new stuff fresh in 2021. So, but of course, I'm saving some stuff because there's going to be my top 10 list here at the end of the year. So everyone look forward to that. I've been talking for a long time already, and I haven't really been doing much else besides just yakety yakking. So let's get into what this episode's really all about. It's not about me and all my quirks and silly things that I like to talk about. It's about the music, right? I wanted to do a specific episode this time centered around specific songs, not just albums or not just artists, but specific songs that really float my boat, that really give me a raging hard on, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go over my 10 favorite, top 10 most epic songs that are like songs that just get the hair on the back of your neck standing up, shit that makes you want to throw up your hands to the sky and just like praise the musical gods, you know what I mean? Those types of songs. I'm going to give some praise to 10 of my favorite, most epic songs. It's not going to be songs that are just, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of, certain elements that can like feed into what makes a song epic. It's not just the duration, the length of the song. Some songs are 20 minutes long, some songs are a fucking hour long, like who knows? It's not going to be just like, it's not going to be epic just because the song is long. You know what I mean? There's going to be lots of degrees of different things and, contributions that make something really epic. We're going to talk about, just the overall, message that the song is relaying lyrically, the overall feeling sonically, and the musicality that just, there's a reason why like you get goosebumps when you listen to these songs, because they truly are. They're just something of epic proportion to be, awed, and something that's really, inspirational about these tunes. So I'll stop yakking and I'll just get right into it. Probably one of the more kind of like expected ones, I guess one of the more, one that, people would assume should be on this list of 10 most epic songs, in my opinion. Of course, we're talking about Supper's Ready from, of course, Genesis. On the album Foxtrot, I believe 1973, they came out with 1972's release, Foxtrot by the band Genesis. Everyone's familiar with the song Supper's Ready. Where to begin? So I've heard people talk about it supposedly being about the book of Revelation and about end of days, kind of stuff like that. Lyrically speaking, it, I don't read into it like that for some reason. It doesn't really like, um, I don't get I don't get why people really. I mean, toward the very end, lyrically, there is a lot that Gabriel is referring to as far as like straight out of scripture and things going on, and so I understand where people are coming from that aspect, but overall, throughout the first 20 minutes of the song, like you don't really get that feeling like this is something that he's talking about of a biblical nature, or, of a really revelation type of aspect where you're getting some sort of like, end times kind of feel. Like it doesn't really have that end times feel. It's actually very whimsical and quirky throughout a large majority of it. You get that real, dripping with British English type of stuff, like basically the whole middle section. This, in my opinion, this song is basically cut into thirds. The third part, the ending, kind of just being a recapitulation of what the whole first part is doing, both in musical, in rhyme and what's going on. But it kind of revisits that theme toward the end. But the whole middle section, part two of it, is just like this, like I said, this whole kind of whimsical, cool, very British, dad diddly office, mom diddly washing, this like funny, very British kind of fun kind of stuff. You know, basically, once he gets into the part in the beginning when he just slowly, it's kind of rocking in the beginning, and it gets all the way down to that soft part when the guitar kind of takes a break and it starts getting a little softer. And as soon as it hits that kind of like where he talks about Narcissus is turned into a flower, bum bum, it's like right there you get part two, and it just goes into, like I said, that real kind of like goofy kind of, I still love it. I guess you could call it goofy. It's so much more theatrical and wonderful, of course, what Peter Gabriel was known for in the early 70s. So I don't want to disseminate this song too much more, because I'm not a super huge like Genesis head. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Genesis. I especially love early Genesis, before Phil Collins kind of took over and everything. But I am a big fan, but I'm not a like raging fan. I don't pick apart and disseminate everything that these guys ever had to offer and really look into like deep meanings. And I know Gabriel's lyrics you can really look into a lot of the deep aspects and meanings of what he's purveying. But I just really like the musicality of it all, and the theme, the musical theme that you have in this one, brought in the beginning and then revisited, like I said, in the third part toward the very end when he talks about bringing everyone, back to Jerusalem or whatever. And the really just kind of like epic building, to the very end of that song with Hackett's guitar work and just, really amazing, epic song. It'll get the hairs on the back of your neck standing straight up. So number 10 on my list, definitely. Supper's Ready. Everyone had to expect this one, I'm sure, to be on the list. So rightfully so. All right, next on the list, a band I have mentioned before, that not a lot of people really know about. Honestly, I've never come across anybody in my days that's ever heard of this band or knows anything about them. So it's kind of one of more of those I've talked about some really obscure bands that I love, and this happens to be one of those bands. And this was their first album. I have mentioned a song on this album, pretty heady, pretty fucking amazing. This band, again, I've mentioned them. They're called Astra. They're from San Diego, California. They're no longer making music. This album released back sometime in the early 2000s. I want to say somewhere right around probably 2007, 2008. I'm not really sure exactly. Yeah, 2008 actually. This album is called The Weirding. This was their first release. Really super cool fucking proggy, kind of a darker stonery jam kind of band. I don't know. They're definitely progressive, um, but they really harken back to like that more kind of Black Sabbath meets kind of like 70s rock, almost kind of, I've mentioned like Santana before. They really have a lot of that kind of like that real edgy, a lot of what, you know, they remind me of, uh, like the Mars Volta, what they're doing off a lot of really kind of really cool, fast, scattered, almost Latin type of rhythms and beats. Anyway, the song specifically that I want to talk about today, which is an epic, really epic song, uh, length at least probably in the 14 to 15-minute range, a song called Ouroboros by the band Astra. Ouroboros, of course, referring to, everyone's well aware, Ouroboros is I guess it's kind of a philosophical, um, kind of a thought of just kind of like the never ending cycle of the universe and nature, and how everything kind of just like, life, death, rebirth, everything kind of just like recycles constantly within the universe, represented by the symbol of the snake eating itself, like a snake eating its own tail. How just, the infinite nature of everything. So you can kind of, get a little bit of a grasp of where I'm coming from with this song, Ouroboros by Astra. It just fucking rips, dude. It's an all instrumental song. This band, not an instrumental only band, but this being one of the songs, that is sheerly instrumental. And I'm not positive, but I think it's probably the only album, or excuse me, the only song on this album that is solely instrumental. And like I said, it just fucking rips. This band is heavy on the guitar, heavy on the cool synth sound, a lot of the old cool 70s synth sounds that everyone loves dearly. Um, Keyboard specifically being like, the Mellotron sound and all that stuff. Heavy on a lot of that, heavy on real cool ripping guitar shit. And it does not stop. It begins with a very steady, steady rocking kind of flavor beat, and then, one of those types of songs where it never really gets to a really huge moment, but it kind of fizzles and then just gets really down and low and dark and soft, and then slowly bubbles and builds itself back up to where it's even bigger and bigger, and it kind of just goes through like this. It's probably at least about a 3 or 4 part, not a jam, but just it's definitely, it definitely has a specific type of roadmap of what it's doing, but it has, elements of kind of just like real ripping hard rock jam mixed with, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. It's really great. It's really, everybody get on your music player. It's worth a listen, and it just will get you in that spot. A real epic tune. Just takes you to all those great places that you love. And if you appreciate stuff of a much more modern, contemporary hard rock nature, this is for you. It's pretty fan-fucking-tastic. So everybody check out Astra, the song being called Ouroboros. Crazy spelling. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's like Ouroboros, something like that. I butchered that, but yeah, check it out. Okay, moving on down the line, gonna go back to a realm, the very familiar time and place and realm, that I'm sure everybody also is expecting to see, this song and this band. So once again, I'll just bring it out and slap it right across your face. Of course, King Crimson and their seminal, just absolutely monumental album Red from 1974, right? And the song Starless, that song Starless. I'll never forget the first time I heard this shit. It definitely, because I had a vision in my brain, or I mean, I just kind of already had a pre-existing from listening to King Crimson before. I discovered King Crimson in high school, and when I discovered them, it was their newer contemporary stuff from the 90s, was that album Thrack. And so that's what got me into them. And then I went full circle and went all the way back. And then, of course, in the court of Crimson King, and this whole like intermediary period with like the John Wetton and just this, the amazing trio and those three albums from Lark's Tongue and Starless and Bible Black and this, I kind of just like never really got exposed to this at the right period in time. And then when I did hear this in my late 20s, I had no idea that they were capable of so much beauty. Even more of just kind of like a sad and also exalting type of mood they bring to what they're doing, the type of rock and roll that they play. It's so hard to describe, but what a dark and sad and poetic, amazing song Starless is. And you expect it to just kind of like keep on dripping with that, like, that darkness, but as it's going along and you have that bum 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 John Wetton's super low, like really wicked, crazy bass sound, and you're like, where's this song gonna go? What's gonna happen? And then just like fucking out of nowhere, they just like slap you across the face with it. And you got Homeboy on the fucking alto sax, just like, it just kind of like comes out of left field, and they go to this like, and this is already like 7 minutes into the song, and then you get like 4.5 to 5 minutes of just like this insane. I can't remember the exact time signature that they're working with, but it's just got this real crazy hiccup in the middle of it. It must be like a weird bar of like 9/8 amidst, just kind of a steady kind of 4 that they're rocking through, but it's like the BPMs jump instantaneously up like 30, 40 beats per minute, and it just goes through this insane like dark, heavy jazz, just rip roaring jam session, and it just goes to the fucking moon and back in 4 minutes time. And then by the time you get 11 minutes in on the clock, they recap that whole and they're going even faster at this time. And John Wetton's bass sound at this time, where he's just really rocking, dude. Wetton's bass sound, especially on the song Starless, is got to be one of my favorite bass sounds of all time. It's so fucking monumental. It's so good. He really carries the band in this moment, in this faction of King Crimson. Wetton just, obviously because he's the vocalist, but still, dude, just like the way he plays his bass and just the sound he's getting out of his bass, especially toward, like I said, that recap at about 11 minutes of song, when they bring in that melody back in, and he's just just like super kind of crunchy, lots of distortion on his bass, and it just fucking kills, dude. It kills amidst a bunch of awesome alto saxophone. These guys. Oh, yeah. What an amazing fucking band. One of the greatest bands of all time. And this song, Starless, it's just a gem, an absolute gem. Everybody, if you've never heard the song Starless by King Crimson, hook it up. Some amazing, amazing shit. Thanks again for coming back and hanging out with me, everybody. I'm just going to keep plugging away here. I just love stuff that is of that epic nature, songs that just are truly crafted and truly, an art piece all within themselves. And it doesn't always have to be something of a lengthy duration, or something that just has like, tons of really just kind of self-serving like musical things, or really just kind of like overly kind of poetic blah blah blah. Some things are so simple, like Starless, dude. It's so simple and so just poetic and sardonic, and just they man, yeah, they know what they were doing. But I love these epic tunes. Moving it along to another band that is more of a contemporary band, more of a kind of straightforward rock and roll band. I've mentioned these guys a lot. I love the shit out of them. They're putting out a lot of really great music these days. This is an older cut from one of their first full-length LPs. I'd say probably back in about 2014, 2015, when they really hit the scene. All of these bands that kind of, when the whole kind of like stoner fuzz, desert rock, whatever, all these silly names that people have for all these genres, but they really were one of the first bands to really hit the mainstream, pseudo mainstream, to really kind of strap on that label of stoner rock. And I just love the shit out of them. They're putting out tons of great music these days. Of course, I'm talking about the band King Buffalo. I've mentioned them before. The song is called Morning Song, not morning as in Mourn. We're talking about the opposite of night, morning. It's the first track on the album, and that kind of surprised me the first time I heard this, because this song is so it's not bombastic. I'll have to explain the song, but it's the first track on the album, and it just like it just kind of really rings more like it's supposed to be the final track on the album. There's no chaos in it. There's no just like cacophony in it. It is the most beautiful, simplistic version of something that can really just be epic as fuck. It's so simplistic. It starts out really soft. There's acoustic guitar mixed with also electric, but no distortion. So you have like a really nice, clean, electric sound mixed with an acoustic sound. Probably acoustic bass, very simple drums. It's a very slow, boom, 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 probably just barely, 80, 90 beats per minute. Really just slow jam, almost kind of like a hippie jam, like some shit you'd hear out of the 90s. And everyone's aware of, how I can't remember his name, Sean something. His voice, just a really mellow baritone, really beautiful voice. And he's just singing just a really low-key, mellow, kind of just talking about like laying your weary head down, and visions of kind of just like the world around you. And it obviously kind of a sort of song he's probably just like writing about, just kind of like laying on a blanket out in the desert in the middle of the night, staring at the stars. That's kind of like, that's what you get, is you just get this like overwhelming sense of just like a warm blanket over you, and you're looking at the night sky. And he just goes through this like slow kind of soft incantation, and just like slowly builds to the point where he gets into the lyric of just gotta wait until the morning comes, gotta wait until the morning comes. And that kind of blows up a little bit of an electric guitar solo, but it's still very, very mellow, just kind of like one or two just like long sustained notes that don't really bring you into like anything real big, but you feel like this moment is rising, and they really are masterful, and they craft it so well, because when it gets to the top of that guitar solo and you have these long sustaining notes, those long sustaining notes just kind of dissipate into nothing. The drum stops, the bass player stops, everything just stops, and you just hear two notes. It stays in tempo, it stays in time. You just and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, and it does that for like a solid 16 bars. And then like the way the production, it does like this weird like reverse kind of like thing, tape loop, where it kind of just and it sucks you out of the universe, and the fucking drummer just like just like epic fucking amazing drum fill. It's a very simplistic drum fill, but it just adds so much to the moment, so much to the element. It just plugs you into that spot right where you need to be, and it just turns into a fucking headbanger right then and there. It just goes for just night and day. it goes from that moment of just being such a mellow, beautiful jam, and suddenly you're just like, you can't help yourself, and you're just like banging your fucking head as hard as you can. It's so fucking good. Oh, what a great song. Yeah, Morning Song by King Buffalo. The album's called Longing to Be the Mountain. Really, really, really great album. Maybe kind of hard to find. Um, they're probably going to start repressing a lot of their early stuff. This, like I said, I think this is probably their first full length LP. I know they had a really cool EP before this, but this was their first one. I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure it will be repressed soon. They're getting some really serious popularity. They're supposedly putting out like a couple more LPs this year, and they've already released one full-length LP, The Burden of Restlessness, it's called. Really sick fucking album. Supposedly they were supposed to bring out a couple more albums this year, so we'll see what happens. But everybody check this one out. The Morning Song. Super epic. That's number what, 7 on my list of my favorite epic songs. Okay, we're gonna turn it down a little bit. We're gonna mellow things out a little bit now. Everyone knows how much I love ambient music. I listen to a lot of down-tempo, low-key, ambient type stuff. When you get into that type of stuff and you really kind of like deep dive into the world of ambient music and new age and things like that, there's a wealth of really like epic, crazy shit out there where people get really heady and, you know, really introspective and crazy with it and just go on these, you know, tangents, these art pieces where they just play like these like 50, 60, 70 minute songs that are all recorded in one sitting, and it's just amazing. And it's just how these musicians do this and how they're able to compose these little pieces of beauty. It's beyond me. I've always just relished it and always been super jealous that I've always wanted to be a piano player. And of course, one of my very favorite musicians of all time, the very masterful, the very wonderful Brian Eno, of course, Brian Eno, and his wonderful piece called Thursday Afternoon. This is one song. It's roughly, there's different versions of it. The CD release version, I think it's about 48 minutes. I've seen versions of this that are slightly extended, and it's mostly just kind of ambient sounds at the beginning that aren't even like instrumentations. It's just kind of like ambient noise at the beginning, and then again at the end, just tacking on an extra, 8 to 9, 10 minutes or whatever. But I'm pretty sure that this album is roughly about 48 to 50 minutes long. And you know how Eno goes. It's just all one beautiful concept idea that just slowly blooms and then slowly closes itself back up. And that's what this song, this album, this song reminds me of, is the, if you've ever, of course, you've seen those slow motion or, what's that called? When you take a video, a time lapse, like a time lapse video of a flower or a plant that just like over the span of an entire day, and it, the sun comes up and it lifts its head up and opens its face to the world and soaks in the power of the sun, and then toward the end of the day, it reverses that and it goes to sleep for the day. And that's what this song reminds me of, and how it, buds and blooms and then closes up again, and it's just masterful, just absolute beauty, of course, and it's what Brian Eno's best at. But if anyone's never heard of this one, this was kind of like middle career for him. I believe late 80s probably. I think like 88, something like that. Maybe 87, 88. Looking for a date. Anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, Thursday Afternoon, it's called. Pretty sure you can only find this in CD format. I've never seen it on vinyl. So, with his heightened popularity, of course, these days, I'm sure eventually it will be released on vinyl. But definitely something worth having if you are a Eno fan, or if you're just a fan of piano-centric ambient music. This won't do it for you. It's fucking epic. 45, 50 minutes of just like utter just bliss, beauty, all being laid out on the piano. And of course, there's a lot of, ambient synthesizer sound. And other than that, that's primarily what you're listening to. You're just listening to great piano concepts and very mellow synthesizer sounds. So, yeah, absolutely masterful, super epic. Epic Eno. Everybody gets some. All right, like I do, gonna do a fucking total 180 from that. Go to a much heavier, darker place. And another one that I'm sure everyone was kind of expecting to see from me or hear from me. Them, of course, being another one of my very favorite artists of all time. And they are, purveyors of all things epic when it comes to progressive metal, progressive hard rock, progressive art rock, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Of course, you know who I'm talking about now. I'm talking about Tool, talking about their newest release, Fear Inoculum, which everyone knows took for fucking ever to come out. For a good reason, for lots of good reasons. But it truly is masterful, and it truly is an absolute work of art. I would expect no less from these guys. It truly, truly is a work of art. But specifically, the song I want to talk about, I'm not going to even say is my favorite track on this album, but it just has the most. It has the most fucking balls, and it's just the most epic song of theirs that I can even like. It really is their most epic song. I think it's their longest song. It's up there about like 15, 16 minutes. It's got to be at least 16 minutes long. I'm talking about track 7, The Tempest. I think it's just called Tempest. Man, shit is fucking crazy. Not even super impressed with the lyrics per se, or even the vocal performance. Actually, I think it's kind of a milquetoast vocal performance by Maynard. And even the vocals just kind of like real stereotypical, just kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of poking fun at the way politics works and the way the world is governed, and the idiots that are constantly in the limelight in the political world and on the global political stage. And it's like, okay, it's kind of old hat, we get it, but toward the middle of that, you really feel like it's, rather than just kind of like, talking about fucking Trump or talking about whatever the fuck, I think he's kind of hinting along the lines of just a little bit more kind of like a deep-seated, kind of mysterious, kind of like, when he's talking about the tempest, that's the kind of like the storm that's coming. I think he's probably referring to something a little bit more just kind of deep-seated and hidden, more like there's something that is coming, that's on the breeze, something so earth-shattering and so mind-altering, and something that will change human history, and something that will change our thought process. That's kind of what I'm gleaning from where this song is going, and on a lyrical, lyrically speaking, and just kind of the vibe you get toward the end. Like at the beginning, it's kind of like I said, just kind of like slapstick, tongue in cheek, like he's just talking shit. Another song talking shit, but then you really get a sense of something, like I said, darker underneath underneath the skin that's really, really coming. You know, come before the darkness comes to rain on you. Boom, boom, boom. Crazy sevens and nines that they're working with here. You know, basically from 4 minutes on, you're talking Adam Jones. I'm not going to say it's a guitar solo, but it just is really truly Adam Jones's time to shine finally. I mean, not finally, he's always just a huge presence in the band, but this really is just like some of the best fucking playing I've ever heard from Adam Jones. And just so happens to be the final track on their most recent album of a 30 plus year career, you know. So it really is just like built up to this moment where Adam Jones just truly is, he's just shining on this, just however he's doing that shit with his fingers. Like, I have no idea. He's playing those sextuplets almost as fast as Danny Carey is, in the same. They're so fucking tight. Like, they're so tight. They're playing these sextuplets together. Like, it's just like seamless. Like, oh my God. I don't know how he does it. Even Justin Chancellor, toward like the middle to end of that, is also just like getting in some real sick, like, I don't know how he's doing picking that shit. It's so fast. But yeah, very intense rhythms. This is just a very, very insane display of rhythmic prowess, and how these guys just like, the rhythms are everything to these guys, and the juxtaposition to each other, and then they coalesce and play the same rhythms together, and then play alternating rhythms together, polyrhythmic. It's just masterful. It's just absolutely masterful. And the Tempest song, just gets me every time. It's kind of like I said, the build up to a 35 year career. And it's just like, you know, you could turn on, you know, the first track of Opiate, you know, and then put on the last track of their most recent and just hear the evolution, and just being a part of the evolution of this band and what they're capable of. It's something epic within itself. So yeah, the final track on this album to me is probably, in my opinion, their most epic song. It blows my fucking mind. It just blows my mind. It's probably one of their songs. They have many songs that I'll never be able to play. I fancy myself a bit of a drummer, and I grew up learning how to play drums like Danny Carey. He's probably my favorite drummer, and I can play a lot of his shit. I can. This being a song, Tempest, I mean specifically, I'll probably never be able to fucking play this song, ever. He's toward the end. He's got that solid. It's a quarter note triplet, and he's playing a quarter note triplet on a China crash, and he's got the triplet on his kick drums, but the rhythm juxtaposes itself. So every third bar, he's off the beat, and then he's back on. It's so fucking hard to explain, and it's such an intricate, crazy song. Fucking kudos, dude. These guys. Nah, I can't even. It's hard to even describe. So, yep. Fear Inoculum. Still not, in my opinion, I don't think it's their best album, but it certainly kicks some serious ass. It's very epic. So, all right, we'll move it along here. I've been really like yammering a lot. I'm really sorry for anyone that's just like really getting bored of just staring at me, just yammering. But haven't posted for a while, so I got a little bit of the nervous energy again, because it's been so long since I've posted. And this is some of my favorite music, and I just love songs that, like I said, just bring out that feeling in you where you know that this is something really special that they've created. There's a reason these things make you feel the way they do. This is a band that I grew up with, absolutely loving them from the 90s. I've mentioned them before. I've actually mentioned this song specifically before in one of my videos, but I had to include this on this list because every time I hear this song, it makes me just scream with joy. It's just the perfectly written pop rock song, and it's probably one of their heavier songs. And so, me being a fan of heavier, hard rock and metal and stuff like that, this certainly isn't a metal song, but it's definitely one of their most, if not their most, just heavier tunes, and heady, if you know what I mean. This is that band that I've talked about. They're called Tripping Daisy. The album called I Am an Elastic Firecracker. The song that I'm specifically talking about, I think it's the final track. No, it's not the final track. It's the second to last track. The last track is just kind of like an outro, basically, to the whole album as a theme. It's just a real low key, kind of like moody, kind of like, oh, good night, everybody. It's a song called Prick. Second to last track on this album from 1995. Oh my God, psychedelic pop rock, but it's heavier than like your kind of typical popular rock. It's got a real kind of like cool kind of like double time feel. It's going along at like a medium tempo, but the drummer's playing like a double time slower beat. Really epic ripping guitar, slow kind of. It's just got a really encompassing, really big, broad, dripping sound. Lots of just production value. These guitars are just big. Really kind of like reminds you of like that Smashing Pumpkins sound, where it's just like tons of filtered, super huge, guitar sound, just Billy Corgan, James Iha, just like, really lots of guitar fuzz everywhere, coming from every direction. But that's what you're getting. You're just getting like soaked in all this guitar fuzz. And his lyrics are just absolutely maniacally fucking insane. Like I mentioned before, a lot of drug use in this band, a lot of illegal, dangerous drug use in this band. Obviously, the title of the song being Prick. He's not talking about someone being a prick. He's not talking about the whatever. He's talking about the prick of a needle, the prick of a needle going into the vein, and basically what happens thereafter. And that's what the song is basically running through. And it's just this insane, drug-fueled, visions of things, and going through angry moments, and going through cynical, and going through crazy moments, and going through just funny moments, and just like it's just dripping with insanity. The song itself, the lyrics, everything just feels insane. You feel like you're fucking losing your mind in this song, and it just builds throughout the whole thing. You get 5-6 minutes into it, and this, like I said, it has that really slow kind of like double time big guitar sound, and it just he gets to the point where he's talking about all this stuff, and it's got this delayed vocal effect, and it just kind of goes from a low kind of high, like a rocket taking off, and the drummer builds with a 16th note, and it goes into like cut time, into like a kind of a punk rock feel, where it just goes from that double time to cut time, so that the meter cuts directly in half, so it's seamless. Just genius. Dudes weren't writing rock songs like this in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. This was like 95. You didn't hear stuff like this. Everything was so straightforward, and everything was so, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Real artistic piece of almost kind of a sad piece, because of course the inevitable. The guy fucking overdosed and died. But just what just a masterful one of this, in my opinion, would be kind of their tome, their just what's the word I'm looking for? Their magnum opus. You know what I mean? Like, and no one's ever heard of it. No one's ever heard. A lot of people have never even heard of this band. They've only ever remember that silly song that they had on MTV, the "I Got a Girl" song. No one's ever heard of much of these guys beyond that, and no one's certainly ever heard of that song. The song I'm talking about, the song called "Prick." Everybody, check out the song "Prick" by Tripping Daisy. What a fantastic experience! What a great fucking song. Didn't get much better than this in 1995. You know what I mean? So, all right, everybody. Only a couple more left. I won't keep you. I know it's getting late. You're probably hungry. You probably need to call your grandma. She misses you. So, last couple here. Going back into the realm of the expected. I'm sure everyone maybe not expecting this specific tune, but definitely probably, knew that I was going to bring up this band. Them being, well, I go over in my own mind about this a lot. And I talk with, close friends and people I love about when you make like a comment like this and you really have to back it up and you think about it, you're like, really, who is the greatest band of all time? Could I ever really even say, could I ever even really verbalize, who the greatest band of all time is? And every time I ponder that thought, this band comes to mind. Pink Floyd is, in my mind, right now, as of right now, and who I am in my life and where I'm at, I'm to the point now where I think Pink Floyd is probably the greatest rock band of all time. And this album specifically, I'm not going to say I've talked shit about Pink Floyd. I don't think I've talked shit about Pink Floyd, but I've had some really unpopular opinions about Pink Floyd in the past. And people have, wanted to discuss that with me. Some people just, blow me off and call me weird, but I think this is Pink Floyd's best album. And I think that the track Dogs is, I don't know if it's their best song, but it's fucking epic. It's probably my favorite Pink Floyd song. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sheep's pretty dope too. But we're specifically talking about Dogs today. I think Dogs is absolutely epic. No one can argue with that. Gilmour's guitar, that guitar theme that he has with the, double harmony that he pulls off. And when I am at work and I'm whistling along, I even whistle along to a third part harmony. And so it's just so epic and so beautiful. You can split that melody 3 or 4 different ways, and it's just the most soaring, beautiful guitar melody. Like, it rings in my mind as probably just the most epic guitar melody in all of history. It's just beautiful. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, the song Dogs is just, I'm not going to talk about the album and explain it all and just all the, all the descriptions and all just the allegory and just all of the stuff that we all know about. It's so fantastic. Roger Waters and all of his dark poetry and just, the theme and the concept is just, fuck, it's the best Pink Floyd album. And it just doesn't get better than Dogs. The shit makes the fucking hair on the back of my neck stand up every single time. It never stops. I remember hearing this shit when I was a kid. I didn't even know who Pink Floyd was. Didn't know what it was. I remember this song specifically. It's because of that guitar melody and how haunting and beautiful it truly is. It will always, ushered, Gilmour into the halls of eternity as being one of the greatest, guitar players of all time. And how simplistic, well, guitar players will argue with me, I'm sure. It's probably not simplistic. There's a lot of heart and soul and love that goes into specifically David Gilmour's playing style and how much flavor and heart and soul and things he does and the bends and all the shit that he pulls off in his sound. It truly is just unique, epic, beautiful, absolute mastery. So I'll quit gushing about this, but I'm sure you all expected to see something like this on this list. So here it is. Pink Floyd's Animals, 1977. Doesn't get much better. And I love the art display. That's another reason why it's one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums, or is my favorite Pink Floyd album. I mean, it's just, I love the art display. I love the photographs, everything on the inside, the back photograph. I love this dim, dark, all the B&W on the inside. This is just a true, piece of art, the art display. I just fucking love everything about this album. It's a masterwork. So that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. A couple more to talk about. Got to bring out the obligatory, like I always do, but these guys can't be written off. They're known, they've always been known for writing some really, really epic, fucking amazing tunes. Always lengthy. They're always really intense. They're always really thoughtful. They're always thought-provoking, especially in their middle years, their middle career. Known for these like insane, double and triple LPs that just kind of like I've said, go to fucking Jupiter and back. But this one specifically, this is my favorite song by the band. Yes, I'm talking about the song Awaken. On the album Going for the One, 1977. The song Awaken. Just put on the cans, plug it in, let it fly. You will be taken away. It's so amazing. The depth of, sonically speaking, what they were fucking doing. Everyone should get online and if you're a Yes fan at all, even if you're not, maybe you can stand to do a deep dive. But if you even remotely like Yes, or you're a Yes fan, to get on the internet and look into some of the sessions. They have video recording of the sessions that they were doing for Going for the One, and it's just hilarious, dude. The guys are hilarious, by the way. They all have wonderful senses of humor. And they're just super fun to watch because they love what they do and they love making their music, but they're just hilarious. Like the shit that they're doing, so much is layered into this album, specifically the song Awaken, where it's just like they're playing all kinds of weird, goofy little instruments and all kinds of like really crazy, heady stuff, lots of percussion, fucking didgeridoos and like all kinds of like gourds and shakers. And, John Anderson's playing the harp all over the place. Rick Wakeman's playing all kinds of crazy shit. They're all doing all kinds of crazy vocal backups and secondary, third, tertiary vocal parts. Fucking Chris Squire just was like an insane backup vocalist. Like all of his second and third vocal parts were just absolutely masterful. Even fucking old dingbat Steve Howe was like, he had a horrible voice, but at least he still had like quite a bit to add to this album too. They were really like, this album is so underrated and so underwritten. People just fucking write it off like they never really give it a shot. And the song Awaken just like, yeah, people make fun of John Anderson's kind of goofy, crunchy, woo-woo type of lyrics and the subject matter that he goes off and about, but this one's for real. This shit's for real. He's just talking about, awakening humankind with a soft touch to bring us in, ushering in a new, just a new reality and a new way of life and a new way of thought, and just the awakening of mankind into a new realm of consciousness, and it hopefully being a gentle touch, so it's not something that will shock us so much to where, we get rocked into an even darker version of reality, an even darker dimension, which pretty much is kind of what happened since 1977. But you know, you can't go wrong when you're talking about something like Awakening. So uh, yeah, everyone give it a shot. I say it time and time and time again. Blah blah blah. Yes is the shit. Listen to everything they've got. It's all fucking fantastic. So the song Awaken, 1977, off the album Going for the One. It's fucking epic. It deserves a lot of attention. Um, really cool. Not even too long. It's, you know, roughly 10 or 11 minutes. Has lots of ups and downs, lots of cool soft moments, brings it back up. Love the way it ends. You know, just real soft, kind of like subtle healing moment by John Anderson. Gets a little bit more personal. In the beginning, he's kind of talking about kind of the overview of everything, you know, and talking about, you know, a gentle mass touch and awakening the spirit of mankind. And then toward the end, it's like getting a little bit more human and just kind of like talking about some personal stuff and just some, you know, moments of, you know, loving his, you know, wife kind of thing. That's kind of the vibe you get from it. But yeah, everybody check that song out. It's really touching. It's a really moving song, in my opinion. So, gonna bring it to a close here, everybody. Got one left, but actually, before the final one, I'll have I do this a lot. I have a little kind of a special mention, and I'm not trying to like poo-poo it. It's just it was one that like I was kind of wanting to include on the list because it's a great song. It doesn't necessarily have like the kind of monumental epic kind of feel that the rest of these do, but it really deserves to just be mentioned because it's from an album that doesn't get a lot of people don't talk about it much, and it's a song that is just kind of like never really talked about, but it's such a great song, and it's kind of one of the more recent ones that I've discovered from them. They're a band I also talk about a lot, but just kind of a special mention to the band Camel, of course, Prague heavyweights that I love so much, so much, from an album that did not get much fanfare at all for them. I Can See Your House From Here, 1978, I believe, 77 or 78. But for good reasons, it got kind of ignored. People were kind of like taken aback and kind of offended by the cover. You know, back in those days, people were still offended by this type of thing. But seeing an astronaut crucified flying through space, it kind of rubbed a lot of people in the wrong way for whatever reason. It's stupid. But this album includes a song called Ice. Ice is the final track on this album, and it's fucking dope. Anyone that's a guitar person loves Andrew Latimer and his epic type of really just like descriptive and just lovely guitar playing. Ice is a perfect, just a perfect example of the mastery of Andrew Latimer and how just kind of like you get the feeling of just like floating, like you got flushed out the fucking, you know, the airlock, and you know you're fucked, you're floating through space and you got nothing but your guitar, you know. And that's what it sounds like. It just sounds like you're kind of like floating through space and you just have these solemn guitar, long sustained guitar notes, and you know, it's just a beautiful song. It's about 10 minutes long, no real big ups or downs, you know, just really really mellow and tasteful. Just deserves to be noticed. I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. It's a truly epic, cool song. It's an instrumental piece. Yeah, so no vocalizations, no lyrics, just a lot of beautiful guitar playing by Andrew Latimer. So everyone check out I Can See Your House From Here, 1977 or 78, one of the two, by the band Camel. The song's called Ice. Great song. Well, it deserves a little special mention here. But on to the last one of the night. Thanks again for bearing with me, everybody. I know this was a lengthy video, but wanted to talk about some fun, epic music. I talked about these guys before. They received accolades from me for last year, 2020. It was my favorite album. They were the creators of my favorite album from last year. This is an album from 2017. called From Silence to Somewhere by a band called Wobbler. They are from Norway. They are a Norwegian prog rock band. I have talked about them a fuck ton on my channel. Everyone's heard about me go off about Wobbler. But I truly believe that they are one of the best bands to come out of, the prog scene in the last 10 to 15 years. They've actually been around for a long fucking time. They've been killing it in Norway since like early on in the 2000s. They've just recently repressed some of their older albums now, so you can get some of their older albums from the early 2000s on vinyl. And yeah, they're just making a killing at it. Their most recent that I fell in love with last year, called Dwellers of the Deep. This one was a couple years before that, From Silence to Somewhere. It's absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful album. I'm specifically speaking of the title track. It is the first song on the album. One of those, again, kind of rings like it should be the final track on the album. I think I was mentioning that about King Buffalo or something, but it is so epic and amazing, and just goes through so many beautiful, fun, crazy, scary, just amazing moments that you're just like, what the fuck am I listening to? It's 25 minutes long. It just, I'm not going to even sit here and go off for the next 10 minutes about this song. You've got to just listen to it. If anybody appreciates anything of a progressive nature, they really, they're a really great rock band. They truly are an amazing rock band. So if you just even like rock music, like, you will love this and appreciate this. And then if you like things a little bit more eccentric and nerdy and progressive, it's really gonna tickle your fancy. There's all those just great intermediary moments where 6-7 minutes into the song, it'll kind of stop and go to a real quiet moment, and there all of a sudden there's like wood flutes, and homeboy who plays bass guitar on here also plays bass clarinet, and there's all kinds of auxiliary percussion, including like vibraphone, and just like all these wonderful, really unique elements in music that you don't hear in music a lot. I mean, in rock music and popular music, you don't hear these like fantastic little instruments that just kind of have a really unique voice. Like, who the fuck else plays bass clarinet in a rock band? Who the fuck else? I mean, there's a few other bands that are really rocking the vibraphone these days, because vibraphone really has it has a great sound, and it has a lot of really cool elements brought to like specifically rock music. It makes things really ethereal and spooky and smoky in moments. I've actually heard a lot of like popular like metal bands and guys who are doing kind of like stoner rock and doom metal and stuff like that will use vibraphone a lot, and it just kind of really adds interesting elements to rock and roll. But yeah, like I said, bass clarinet and wood flute and just like harpsichord. There's fucking harpsichord all over this shit. Like, it's so fantastic, guys. It's so fantastic. The title track, From Silence to Somewhere, like I said, roughly 25-minute track. It's everything. It's just everything. If you like epic tunes, I was, kind of did a full circle here. If you're one of those folks that, can appreciate and dig what I started out with, the Genesis, Foxtrot, Supper's Ready, man. This is just kind of like I said, full circle. Came back around. If anything, the modern day, shout out to the epic journey that Supper's Ready will bring you. This answers that call 35, 40, 45 years later. I'm not going to say it's a spitting image, but it's definitely harkens back to that. Gives it the due. It's just fucking fabulous. Fabulous album, fabulous band. Oh man, I really hope that we get more from these guys soon. I know they just put out an album, but I gobble it up so quick. They're such an amazing outfit. So anyone that appreciates those epic journeys, those sonic epic journeys, you got to pick up some Wobbler. Worth every penny. Their LPs are a little spendy, it's getting shipped to you from Norway. They don't play shows here in the States, and they don't have an affiliate in as far as their record company in the United States. So everything you're going to get from them is going to be direct from their, Bandcamp or website, from their company that they deal with directly in Norway, Trondheim, I believe. Um, yeah, worth looking into, worth having. This is going to conclude our episode for the evening, everybody. Thanks again for bearing with me, and I hope you had fun with me. I hope you enjoyed the list. I hope you enjoyed the selections. I hope maybe you found something new that you can research and look into, and something that you may enjoy. I love music so much. I especially love stuff that, like I said, just really makes your brain work, really makes your heart thump, really gets everything swole, gets every bit and piece of you just kind of like pumped up, gets the blood flowing, makes your brain think, it makes your heart swell with joy. That's what these selections mean to me. It's not just those specific songs, like the rest of the album, all those albums that I mentioned, like, are just chock full of those types of tunes and those types of elements of music that just really, like I said in the beginning, makes you want to just pump your fists toward the sky, and just makes you feel like you're part of this experience on this planet of these amazing people that can make music like this. These modern day magicians, these modern day Mozarts. That's how I feel about this shit. These are our modern day, Johann Sebastian Bachs. So once again, this is the Square of the Circle Music Channel, signing out. Your pal Mage. Peace, everybody.